I worked at a real estate company doing development, and the CEO once told me there's a triangle of every business, and there's the shareholders, customers, and employees. And if only shareholders will treat their employees well and do that first, then the employees are more inclined to treat the customers well. And then in turn, customers will treat the shareholders well. So I've been adopting that for 15 plus years, and it has not led me astray.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Now, if I told you that people was more important than profit inside your business, would you agree with me or not? Well, for most leaders, they'd say profit is much more important than anything else in their business. But a lot of evolved CEOs and leaders that are really understanding what does it take to scale companies and create a kind of a system where people love to come to work, they're doing meaningful work, they're engaged, they're present, they are treating people with respect. They realize that they've got to treat people differently. And one of the concepts that has come up over the last decade is people over profit. So today we're going to talk about what this concept really is, how it drives growth. With our special guest is Chris Palmer, founder of SupplyKick. They were number 3292 on the Inc. list in 2021, and they've continued to grow. They've made the list 5 times in a row. But we dive into what are the core elements of people over profit? Why does it matter? And what gets in the way as you lead your team? So inside this episode, you'll find a lot for you to use and for you to understand why we believe this people over profit. Now, when you think about your own journey as a leader, my hope is you know exactly what's next for your step to be a more powerful leader, to be the leader that your team deserves. If you don't know what that step is, then one way to figure that out is let's have a conversation. I want to talk to you about what's going on in your business, what's getting in the way that you don't want, and really help you figure out what's missing and create a plan for you. I do this for absolutely for free because people that are listening in here, I know want to be better leaders. And I take a little bit of time out of my schedule. I have one person per week that I allow to be inside this. So if you want to make sure you get on that list, just go to genehammett.com and schedule your call today. Inside that, we'll have a great conversation, one that's probably going to change your life forever if you're willing to lean in and hold nothing back. I have these conversations with my paying clients. I'm willing to have them with you just to get to know you. I promise not to sell you anything, but I know what we offer will help you. Then we will talk about that on a later conversation. So if you want to be a more effective, powerful leader, just go to genehammett.com and schedule your call today. Now, here's the interview with Chris. Hey, Chris, how are you?
Doing great, Gene.
We're going to have a great conversation today about people over profit. Before we get there, I'd love you to tell us a little bit about your company, SupplyKick.
Yeah, SupplyKick is an e-commerce retailer and marketing agency that helps brands realize their highest potential online, largely through marketplaces like Amazon and Walmart.
You know, I've seen a lot of people that are, this is a really emerging market over the last 5 years. A lot of companies from the Inc. 5000 actually play in this zone. I'm kind of curious, what do you see as far as Amazon and online shopping in the next 5 years? It would be different from today.
Yeah, I think the competition has already heated up. It will already heat up. Amazon will likely have some serious competition from Shopify. They're already feeling that, and they're making some moves that indicate that they're aware of Shopify. They also will get increased pressure from Walmart. And then when they are ready to scale it, Target as a marketplace as well. And that trio, and then if you add in Facebook and Google, everybody's vying for market share.
Well, I'm going to be really excited to talk to you today about the topic, which is people over profit. Now, we've already probably lost some people because they think that profit is everything inside of a business, or revenues drive profits, and that's what we're here to do. Where does this come from in your background, this concept of people over profit?
Yeah, I worked at a real estate company doing development, and the CEO once told me there's a triangle of every business, and there's the shareholders, customers, and employees. And if only shareholders will treat their employees well and do that first, then the employees are more inclined to treat the customers well. And then in turn, customers will treat the shareholders well. So I've been adopting that for 15 plus years, and it has not led me astray.
You might be younger than I am, But hearing this this concept reminds me of, it used to be the most important thing in business is, shareholder equity. Do you remember this in the 80s and 90s?
I know the concept, and equity is a powerful word.
You are younger than I am, but then it shifted a lot to customers, because everyone thought, well, if we create a customer dominant brand, I mean, even, one of your partners, Amazon, is very customer dominant. You wouldn't say that they really take care of their employees though, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the background with employees.
No, I agree. Amazon defies that principle in many areas. I think at the end of the day, they want to do what's right for the customer, which they define as their shopper, the person paying money to use their services.
Well, I'm not getting here to toss any stones at anyone. I just want to look at this concept and how it plays out in your company. Chris, you've had a lot of experience in different businesses. And, you shared with me earlier that you started as a young 14-year-old with a lawn care service, but you sold it at 19. You've done some other things. What do we see inside of your business on a day-to-day basis that lets us know that people over profit is really something that you live by?
Well, we were intentional at defining core values, and those have become something that we hire off of, that we provide reviews off of, we celebrate, and they really are so much more to us than what lives on the website. And those 5 core values are: do the right thing, default to trust, embrace change, we before me, and act like an owner. And what you'll see going on inside the company are things like unlimited PTO, which is by direct request from employees that couldn't attend weddings or couldn't go on the international trip because they didn't have the PTO bank. And so we made that switch, but then we also instituted a minimum of 15 days off, because we've seen that on average, unlimited PTO companies actually get a bad rap, because the typical employee takes less time off than they had previously when they had a set number of days. So we've established this floor. Everyone needs at least 15 times off in order to maximize their health outside of the workplace. Things like that. And then giving off on Fridays. We take a half day every single Friday. So we're a 4.5-day week company. And then we also do no meeting Wednesdays, because deep concentrated work is hard to come by, and meetings are a major enemy of that type of work. So we do no meeting Wednesdays. We also give off Valentine's Day, because we believe people's relationships in their lives are important. And we take off mandatory the whole week between Christmas and New Year's, because we've been working hard all year and it's time for a break. So those are a few examples, but we also make every single employee an owner of the company. We have a phantom stock plan that if we would have a liquidation event at some point in the future, where we sell the company, every single one of us would be celebrating, not just the select few at the top.
Now, hold on for a second. Chris just mentioned no meeting Wednesday. And this reminded me of one of my clients who said some of the things that he mentioned. And we were having a coaching conversation, and he brought up to me, one of the biggest challenges is the work that we do as their digital agency is they had to do deep work. They had to have time to think, creativity, and look at other options, and give space for things to really create new ideas for clients. And they had so many meetings, and it was getting in the way. And I mentioned in a coaching call, what about doing no meeting Wednesday? Happens to be the same day. But this was because we had a Tuesday. And he's like, that just wouldn't work. And he talked about why it wouldn't work. And we talked about a little bit more. We talked about how it could work. And he decided to give it a try. And I remember distinctly him saying everyone hated it the first couple of weeks, because they had to change meetings. It was all this kind of turmoil going on. But here's what happened after that. People began to love it. It began to be the most attended day of work. No meeting Wednesday meant people came to work to actually get work done, catch up on things, get their projects completed, which everyone needed to do and everyone wanted to do. But no meeting Wednesday became something that they were able to embrace and make it work for them. I think they've changed it over time, and they have no meeting Wednesday afternoons and Monday afternoons, but whatever works for you. What was really interesting is he thought that it wouldn't work at first. I challenged him a little bit, and he figured out it was something that was missing and needed inside the culture of their work to get more work done. So I don't know if it'll work for you, but I'd love to hear your stories. If you respond back to me, I'd love to share those with my audience. Now back to the interview with Chris. I love the list of things that you're going down. You started with values first. I was on your website. I noticed that one, act like an owner. It's actually very similar to what we have as one of the values of our company, which is own it. When you think about that, you actually gave people phantom stock, but before you had the phantom stock, did you still expect people to act like owners?
Yeah, we expected that out of the gate, even though we didn't have equity. And shortly into starting the company, when we had maybe 4 employees, we instituted a profit sharing plan because we didn't see any real value in the stock of the business at that infancy stage. As the business grew, we actually switched that from profit share to then equity share. So, but even when there were gaps there and not everyone was covered, or they're a new employee and they're not yet signed our documents to become an owner, we still instill that value. It's just, to me, really important that I not only expect that, but I also deliver that, making someone an official owner. Those two seem to go hand in hand.
Being a leader puts you in a lot of tough situations. You've got to listen to employees that are, going through something. I don't know whether it's personal or not, but is there a story that stands out in your mind about how you handled it and you look back at it and said, yeah, I really did live true to this people over profit?
Yeah, there's been quite a few. I would say a real challenging situation we had was when someone, a former employee of ours, actually got tied up in some really unexpected legal troubles, of all things, for crossing a railroad. Just on a walk, and apparently that was a misdemeanor in the area, and they were tied up, and they weren't going to be able to deliver on what we needed to get done as a company. And so, rather than give them a hard time and make them feel bad for having made such a silly mistake and being kind of locked up, they weren't actually locked up, but they were unavailable. Let me say that. It was an opportunity for us to love on that person, to pray for that person's quick release from the authorities. To just get excited about their betterment, and then for us to figure out a way. I mean, a problem always has solutions behind it, but we're not always interested in discovering those or going there. Sometimes we complain about the problem, and being in victim mode does no good to us. And so we're a solution-oriented company. So in that situation, we think that our business is just as much an opportunity to impact people's lives, even like a ministry. We're here to bring hope. We're here to multiply joy. We're here to make your life better, yours as our employee, as well as your family, and then our customers' lives. We're not here to just take away a profit at the end of the day and bless ourselves. We're here to bless others.
Now, I know someone's probably listening to this and go, this sounds all good. If we take care of people, then we'll actually, the business will do better. The stockholders will be taken care of. The customers will be taken care of. I'm not asking you to share specific numbers, but when did you realize that this is actually a really smart business play to take care of people first?
I think it would have been within the first couple of years. So, but I technically knew it long before that, but made plenty of mistakes along the way. Little things. I remember at the very beginning when we were just a 3-person company, little things like talking to one another while not making eye contact. It's a small, subtle thing, but if you're looking at a whiteboard, you're looking at your keyboard, you're looking at some pieces of paper, and you're trying to have a conversation with someone on the other side of the office as you, it feels really disrespectful to not have their eye gaze. And so we just decided we're going to honor one another. We're not going to open our mouth to speak unless we're looking at each other. And so I just remember, I think we did $500,000 that first year, and then we kind of kept doubling over the next 6-7 years. So yeah, that's kind of when we realized that people really matter.
Well, I know this probably plays a role in you attracting talent to your company. You guys got 30 plus employees right now. Would you say that, attracting talent, this message of people over profit comes into play in that selection process?
100%. Yeah, I think both from who we look for to see if there's alignment in that set of values, but as well as who looks for a company like ours. And most everyone that's at our company can tell you a story when they were at a company that did not share this core value, and how refreshing it is to be at a place where we really care about each other. I'm, as a CEO, people bring me problems very often. And I've learned that what person wants when they bring me a problem is not just a solution, but they really want to be valued. And the degree to which we value one another, we value our customers, we're just a people that are others minded. It's a dramatically different atmosphere to work in a company like ours than it is to work at someone who values the dollar ahead of people.
Now, Chris just talked about people bring problems. CEOs get to receive all of these issues and challenges and problems, and that's part of what we're there for. But I also want to remind you, your job is not to solve the problems for them. Your job is to empower them, to convince them, inspire them, and persuade them, whatever the word may be, to get out of their own way and solve the problems themselves. Because over time, you will find that you will have a much more engaged audience. They will feel like they're learning more if they find their own way through. They'll feel more accomplished and more confident for doing that. These things happen, and I see it happen all the time. So your job may be to receive the problem, but it may not be to give the answer and how to proceed forward. You may want to actually coach them or empower them in a new way if you want to grow your people around these problems and through these problems. Back to Chris. When you think about all the things that make you the leader that you are today, what is one area that you are still working on to be a more effective leader?
Well, it's a great question. And what I found is that you don't reproduce what you say, but you reproduce who you are. Said in another way, more is caught than taught. And it's interesting that my goal as a company leader is absolutely to have a healthy, thriving, growing company. We believe to an extent that if you're not growing, you're dying, at least in some ways. And so as I've gone after that goal of have a growing company, what I've realized is that if I hope to have a growing company, my company is nothing more than a collection of people. So my people themselves have to be growing. And if I reproduce who I am, not just what I say, then that means that I'm included. I've got to be growing too as a leader. So that means CEO peer groups. That means a CEO coach. That means regular time to think about R&D and where's the industry headed, and not just get busied under the managerial load of the week. So yeah, the growth thing, it includes me.
Well, you've just talked about how it includes you. How are you growing your employees? What are the things that a small company with 30 plus employees is able to invest in and see benefit from?
Yeah, one of the things we've done is we've defined a professional development plan for each and every person at the company. It's one of our primary goals to roll that out this year. And so that's underway. And then we've defined our long range vision to not just include financial metrics for how we're going to grow or which segments of the industry we want to expand in, but we've defined it actually with a numerical metric for volunteers and hours. I'm really a big believer that it's a great day when someone gives you a compliment. They refresh your day, right? They instill some joy in you that wasn't there previously. Well, there's this principle that he who refreshes others will himself be refreshed. And so we're just a really big fan of giving back because we think that it actually does our own hearts good. And so we're inviting others in to make an impact in their communities, as well as to define a path for their own professional development.
Beautiful way to frame up all of this. We've been talking about people over profit with Chris, and I want to give you a chance is there anything that we missed inside of this conversation that you feel like is really relevant to the topic?
Well, I think that so much begins at the top, and I think that is often lost. It's really easy to say we ought to be this way, but then if I don't live that out, if my directors, if my VPs, president doesn't live that out, then we've got the real mismatch. There's this dichotomy, and everyone will feel that. The inaccuracy between what's spoken and what's lived out. So, I mean, personally for me, 2020, 2021, they've been like a global leadership school. Me and every other leader out there that I know of has at many times felt unqualified to lead, in over our heads, incapable of making right decisions. Just been so many moving targets in the last 2 years. And so through that, I've just had to ask myself the question of what do I need to stop doing, start doing, and keep doing? And then similarly, I think that we all become products of the voices that we listen to. And so whose volume in my life do I need to turn up? Whose volume do I need to turn down or even turn off completely? I want to be a carrier of hope. And for example, on whose volume do I need to turn down? The news media will often just instill a lot of negativity. And I find that basically you become whatever you behold. And so if I've got all the news sites up, I'm beholding those all day long, I'm going to become the same fear and anxiety driven, sensational news headlines that I'm taking in. I'll become that inside my organization. So those are just some examples. I really feel like we as leaders of people teams of people, we owe it to ourselves and our company to be on this pathway of growth for ourselves so that other people follow by example.
Very well said. I appreciate you being here, Chris, and sharing these insights about your leadership and SupplyKick.
Honored to do it. Thanks, Gene.
Here's a chance for me to recap what I take away from today's episodes. We've been talking about people over profits. Now, that may rub some people the wrong way, but here's what I really believe. Chris is saying this as well, so it's not just me, but hundreds of other interviews on this podcast have looked at, the hard question: what is more important, your customers or your employees? 93% of the people that have been on the show have said that it's employees first. Now, they're smaller companies, but they really understand the importance of people, and you want to make sure that you take care of them, you develop them, you have similar values, you live by those values, all of the themes that are inside this conversation with Chris. Now, you may be wondering, how do you develop your next class of leaders, these emerging people, high performers, middle managers? Well, we've got Leadership On-Ramp. If you're curious about what that may be, we can help you figure out how that works. And really the biggest thing is it will improve your retention numbers, allow you to attract more A players, and give you more growth in your business if you have better leaders across the board. And so just check out Leadership On-Ramp by going to genehammett.com, schedule a call with me. I'd love to talk to you about what's going on right now. When you think about growth and you think about leadership, think of Growth Think Tank. As always, lead with courage. We'll see you next time.